Welcome everybody to the Finance Road Trip Podcast Part 2, the Black Wall Street Tour, also known as the Digital Financial Revolution Tour, where I take you on my journey to 22 cities with cryptocurrency exchange owner Naja Roberts with the goal to close the wealth gap through group economics and financial literacy and a focus on Bitcoin, which we believe to be the evolution of money. Naja Roberts and Hill Harper partnered to create the Black Wall Street Wallet, where you can buy, sell, and send your Bitcoin to your cold wallet. Make sure to follow me on all major platforms at CJ the Smart Guy and check out thedfrtour.com for more information on 2022 tour. Thank you. So we pulled up to RH Boyd Publishing on May 26th while on tour, and it was raining. We get out, we go inside, and instantly I noticed this is a different type of location than some of the other previous locations. Most of the time we're outside, most of the time we're in the hood, most of the time we're talking to people who are in a financial struggle. This time it was different. We were at RH Boyd Publishing, which, just to give you a little background information, the original founder of RH Boyd, his original name was Dick Gray. He was born in Mississippi as a slave. Then after the Civil War and the Emancipation Proclamation, he moved from Mississippi into Texas and changed his name to Richard Henry Boyd. So Richard Henry, that's where the RH comes from. And he did that to free himself of his slave master's name. He then organized the Texas Negro Baptist Convention and started becoming a pastor to several churches in Texas. Then in 1896, so he was about 50-something years old, he formed the National Baptist Publishing Board, which is now known as the RH Boyd Publishing Corporation in Nashville, Tennessee. Then within only like 8 years, he then formed Citizens Savings Bank and Trust Company. So this is really important because not only does he have the slave background in Mississippi, he moved into Texas, went to college in Texas, and then created a company and a bank. So this is a real true entrepreneur who seems to be very fearless, and not only an entrepreneur living for himself, but for his future downline, as well as the future of Black America as a whole. So his son, Dr. Henry Allen Boyd, was among the influential business leaders responsible for locating Tennessee Agriculture and Industrial State Normal College for Negroes, which is now known as Tennessee State University in Nashville. So I graduated from Texas Southern University in Houston, Texas, which I still consider the real TSU. But, you know, even though we have like internal rivalries or whatnot, I think it's very important to broadcast the HBCU experience and why HBCUs were created originally. A lot of people nowadays who don't understand the history, they'll say, well, why do black people need their own colleges? Racism is over. Like, you can go to all the colleges. Yeah, I hear you. But those institutions were created for us, by us, because we weren't allowed in the other institutions. And so now, even though we're allowed at these PWIs or predominantly white institutions, we don't receive the same experiences as we would at a HBCU. So for instance, me being at a HBCU, if I need to find somebody who can do my hair, I literally can go into class and say, hey, I need my hair done. And there's going to be somebody who says, hey, they do hair. If you go to a PWI and you say you need your hair done, most of them might not know how to twist locks. They may not know how to do braids. And it's not a knock on them. It's just, it's a different environment. As well as if you're in a PWI and a white person asks a question that, you know, other white people would know the answer to, then that's good for them. If they come to HBCU, they're going to get a whole different flavor, a whole different vibe. And so big shout outs to RH Boyd, Richard Henry Boyd, for not only surviving slavery, but then moving to Texas and creating a legacy, not just for himself, but for his family, as well as Black America as a whole. I really think that's important. So big shout outs to RH Boyd, as well as to his son, because he continued to push the progress on the business. It continued to flourish through the Great Depression. A lot of businesses went out during the Great Depression, but RH Boyd Publishing was able to survive, and not just survive as a company, but to be at the forefront as a leader for the national civil rights and social agenda movements. And they gave strong support to the National Baptist Convention of America, Dr. Martin Luther King, and just the whole civil rights movement in general. And then they relocated to the current location on Centennial Boulevard in 1974. And it's just a really, really big thing that not only did this guy come from slavery, He created a business not just for himself. He provided the platform for his entire family as well as for Black America as a whole. So I want to give a big shout outs to Richard Henry Boyd for doing all of this. It's one of the things that I do it for. I don't just do this podcast for me. I do this to help out the community. I do it for free. I edit myself. I do the whole thing myself. I learn the information. I create it. You can check out my podcast, Pivoting Your Business, where I talk about the process of re-engineering a process. This is literally what I do. And I have a lot of respect for R.H. Boyd simply for that. So now let's fast forward to the event. So I got to meet LaDonna Boyd. LaDonna Boyd became the president of R.H. Boyd Publishing in October 2017. And she's been continuing the legacy. This is the 5th generation leader for R.H. Boyd Publishing. And so Naja being in the crypto space, this is like just the continuation of greatness. And I think that was the reason why this location was chosen, simply because she saw the greatness. You know, one thing that Naja wanted to do was she wanted to go to locations that had meaning to the Black community. And R.H. Boyd definitely has meaning to the Black community. And just to give you a quick background about LaDonna Boyd, she's a devout Christian. She continues the Christian platform publishing for R.H. Boyd. She's an AKA, and she attended Spelman, Tennessee State, and Pepperdine. And so this was the first event actually that I went to where it wasn't necessarily outside and in the neighborhood. This was like indoors because it was raining. And this is also the first time I got to see Hill Harper actually speak. Now, Hill Harper wasn't there in person. At this moment, I had not even met him yet, but he came onto the screen. He talked about the Black Wall Street. He talked about Black America as a whole. He talked about cryptocurrency, the future of money, things of that nature. I've got to speak as well. But more importantly for me, speaking wasn't something that I was trying to do in every single city. My voice is cool, but I'm not trying to always talk in every single city. A lot of times I just like to be there as a specialist. And what made Nashville special for me was I was able to influence or at least provide background on cryptocurrency, taxes, and accounting. They took us to the back room. They started asking me questions, and I was able to let them know how cryptocurrency is taxed, how it's added to the balance sheet. And so I feel like, hey, I'm contributing to a company that has contributed to Black America as a whole throughout the years. And so it was actually a great honor to be able to do that. And then I also want to give a shout out to a bunch of people who came through. So Kim Lewis, also known as Mama, she came in with her mom, and she's a spoken word poet. I met her at Howard University, another HBCU in DC, and we've been in contact ever since. She's a great poet. You can check out some of her poetry on Instagram and things of that nature. She's awesome when it comes to the poetry. She definitely talks about the Black experience. She also talks about her experience at Howard University and how college may or may not be for every single individual, but I also think it helped shape some of her ideas as well. So I want to give a huge shout out for Kim Lewis for coming through, as well as not just coming through, but bringing her mom, learning about the evolution of money, cryptocurrency. Hope she comes out in 2022, as well as shout outs to Sarah Knobloch. So we've been Twitter friends since like 2011-ish, and this was our first time actually meeting. So it took almost 10 years to actually meet somebody in person from Twitter. And this is back when I had my old Twitter in college days, where I was talking a lot more reckless back then, but I had over 50,000 Twitter followers back then. And to stay in contact with somebody all those years is really cool. And for them to actually come out to one of your events was awesome. So big shout outs to Sarah Knobloch. I know she's been through a lot. She had been into a car accident years back where, you know, the doctors basically said she wasn't going to be able to walk or do a lot of things again, but she's out here surviving. She's making it happen. So I am very, 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 very proud of Sarah Knobloch, and I'm very happy that she came through. So big shout outs to Sarah, as well as who came out from the Black Bitcoin Billionaires, Nikki Azare. I don't know if I'm saying her last name correctly. I don't know if it's Azuri or Azare. We've heard different things in the BBB, but big shout outs to Nikki. She also came to the most recent BBB conference on the rooftop in Miami. So big shout outs to Nikki for coming through. I didn't really get a chance to talk to her too much, as well as I never got to take a picture with Kim simply because I was moving around and they had me in the meeting in the back. But big shout outs to all three of them for coming through. Nashville was very, very awesome. It was also my first time going out with the team after the event. So the hotel in Nashville was really great. It was downtown and we got to walk around. This was my first time really going out with the entire team. So, Dimitri came out, my bodyguard came out, Kwesi came out, as well as his son Navon and Valissa. And so we all got to just enjoy ourselves. It was my third time even having a beer on tour. People think that when I'm on tour, I'm partying the whole time. But no, in all reality, the only places that even had a drink at all was in Chicago and Nashville. I really didn't party at all during tour. Everything was very focused on our purpose and just building each other up. And I think after the craziness that happened in St. Louis, it was just really cool to be able to come together as a team and to relax, enjoy ourselves, have a drink, have some food. Big shout outs to Valissa also. She doesn't drink. At this time, she wasn't even 21, so she couldn't drink. But at the same time, she didn't drink at all. So big shout outs to her for that. I think discipline will get her very, very far. But me, I definitely had one or two. And it was well needed because it was a lot of work. As well as big shout outs to Hbcus, aka Mr. Make It Happen 365. He came out as well. I didn't really get a chance to talk to him too much when we were in Nashville, but I know he definitely came to Tulsa later on, where we're going to talk about it in more detail, because that's when we really got to know each other, was in Tulsa. But I could just see the hunger in him, and it reminded me of me when I was younger. Not saying he's young, but like just when I first started off in the game, like studying, trying to hustle, trying to get my first clientele, I was extremely hungry. People don't realize I was actually only like 145 when I got my CPA license in terms of weight. And by the time BBB started really going off and things started going well, I gained over 50 pounds. Not just because of COVID and not lack of exercise, because I was finally eating. Eating is very important. There was times when I was studying for my CPA exam where I was literally starving because I didn't have any money to eat, and you just had to focus through the starvation. And so when I see Hbcus, I see that same type of drive, that same type of hustle. I don't think it's money motivated as much as it is purpose driven. So big shout outs to Hbcus. I'm rooting for you. The whole Nashville was really awesome. And then side note, while we were downtown having a drink, we actually saw the first fight amongst the residents in the city. And it was just really cool to see a fight that didn't turn into gunplay or anything like that. None of us were really nervous or scared or anything. It was just people that were drunk just having fights, and the police never came. And so it was really cool just to watch that. So all of Nashville was really, really awesome for 2021. 2022, we will be back June 10th, 2022 at West Park, which is 6105 Morrow Road in Nashville, Tennessee. Looking forward to it. CJ the Smart Guy, I'm out. Deuce.